So, what I would like to do this morning is return to our good old practice of knowing, steadying, calming, releasing, and use some of the material we've been discussing in the last couple of months to really clarify how to work with whatever arises when we're meditating, or for that matter, during the day as you're going about your life. So we'll go back to the beginning and read the four phrases that we started with. You train yourself. Breathing in, I know that I am breathing in. You train yourself. Breathing out, I know that I am breathing out. You train yourself. Breathing in, steadying any bodily formation that arises. You train yourself. Breathing out, steadying any bodily formation that arises. You train yourself. Breathing in, calming any bodily formation that arises. You train yourself. Breathing out, calming any bodily formation that arises. You train yourself. Breathing in, releasing any bodily formation that arises. You train yourself. Breathing out, releasing any bodily formation that arises. Knowing, being conscious of, being aware of, focusing your attention on. Knowing that you're breathing in. Knowing that you're breathing out. Training yourself so that when you intend to focus your attention, in this case on breathing, you can do that. When you intend to sustain your attention on breathing, you train yourself to be able to do that. To be able to sustain the intention of focusing your attention where you want it to be focused. That's very important in our regular lives. The ability to focus our attention and to sustain it where we want it to go. Whether we're working on a project, having a conversation with somebody, planning an event, to be able to sustain our focus is it's an invaluable skill. And you can't do that without knowing what you're doing. If you don't know that you're intentionally sustaining your focus, then you just drift around. You're unanchored, and you just go with the flow, go with the current. So first off, knowing what your experience is in this moment. And how do you train yourself to know? By focusing when you're meditating on breathing in, or focusing on breathing in when you're working on a project and you keep getting distracted take a moment and breathe in, knowing that you're breathing in. Breathe out, knowing that you're breathing out. For however many breaths it takes you to steady the energy that wants to pull you off in a million myriad directions. And steady your attention, your focus on knowing that you're breathing in, knowing that you're breathing out, knowing that you're working on a project, knowing you're doing the dishes, knowing you're in a conversation with the person you're talking to. Steadying your attention. You train yourself to steady your intention, to keep your attention where you choose to keep it. In this way, you're training yourself in mastery, in agency, in the ability to live the life you're choosing. And the energy is difficult. The energy is there to, keep bouncing from one thing to another. Keep, rushing from whatever it is that catches your attention, moving you off what you intend to be focusing on. And you have to calm that energy. You have to calm that energy so that you can steady the attention on what you wish to be focusing on, what you wish to know. And the temptation to get entangled, the seduction of whatever it is that keeps arising to disturb the calm and steadiness, that seduction of saying, oh, come on, you want to get out of your boat and go off with me. You want to travel where I'm going to go, even though you have no idea where that is, instead of where you're intending to go. And you politely decline. You withdraw consent to be entangled with something else instead of your own intention, and you release that energy that is unsteadying and disturbing the calm. You release that energy and you say, go, have a wonderful life, but I won't be going with you. I'm going to stay here where I want to stay. So that's been the practice we've been working with for now a couple of years. And we've just been exploring the paramis of generosity and ethics. We've talked about the Eightfold Path and the various ethical factors there. We've exposed ourselves to the full 16 verses from the Anapanasati Sutta. There's been a lot. There's been a great deal. And so, how do we bring some of that directly back to this practice? So, I want to start with the factor in the Eightfold Path called right intention. Because, as I said, what we're training ourselves is to sustain our intention. We're trying to sustain our intention to keep the focus of our attention where we wish it to be. How does this teaching that the Buddha gave on right intention support us in being able to sustain in our lives the intention to have a conversation that's fruitful and lovely, the intention to work on our project until we feel like we've done what needed to be done. How do we sustain our attention, our intention? So then you come back to our practice. You set up first the intention, and knowing what the intention is, and knowing how to initiate acting on that intention. That's first. You have to be able to initiate, you know. So you're having a conversation with your friend in a cafe, and you initiate the conversation. Oh, I'm so glad that we're getting a chance to catch up. How are you? Not so hard, right? Now the hard part, sustaining your attention on the conversation. Your friend begins to answer, and whatever she says, it's going to spark all these energies in yourself. Oh, that's just like when I blah, 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 blah. Oh, that reminds me of this. Oh, no, 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 no. Over and over again, your intention is to listen and have a conversation. And the internal energy is to go all over the place with every sentence that she says. It stimulates something, something about something. And your intention is not to get lost in your own, world bubble that you could go off and create and lose track of what she's saying and how she's feeling and the relationship that you're building with this person. You don't want to lose that. So you want to steady your attention on the conversation, and you want to calm this energy. You need to be able to stabilize your intention to stay with the conversation. Right intention begins with kindness, the intention to be kind. And kindness, is very, very supported by looking at kindness through the lens of generosity. So what's the generosity here? What is it that you are giving as a gift, not just to the other person, but to yourself as well? And what does this have to do with kindness? Well, you really want to listen. This relationship is important to you, significant enough that here you are in a cafe, having gotten together. It's meaningful to you and you really want to do this. The gift is to say, oh, all these internal stories or external distractions from the other people in the room with you, I'm going to let them go. I'm going to release them. I'm going to calm the energy that wants me to disappear from this conversation and go into an internal story or look at the person who just came in the door. All of these distractions that come up, I'm going to steady my intention. I'm going to calm the energy of all of these distractions. I'm going to release all of these distractions out of a generosity to the relationship I'm trying to have. And that relationship could be to a work project and all that that means to you and to whoever will be affected by that work project. The generosity comes out of a sense of kindness. I want to be kind, not just to quote myself, unquote, but I want to be kind to that intention that I set up. I want to be kind and generous to the training that I'm doing. I want to come to the experience of all these interruptions with a sense of kindness, with a generosity of spirit, and think of release as pure generosity. You are not saying to whatever story or impulse or trigger that happens, you're not saying, go away, I don't want you. You're saying, I release you. I'm not getting entangled with you right now because my focus of attention is on this conversation. I release you to go out into the world and be whatever you will be. You offer it kindness. You offer it a generous spirit. You have my love and my good wishes. You know, go off and be happy, but I'm not going with you. I'm staying here. I'm training myself to stay here. The second of the supports that right intention offer us is the intention to do no harm. You don't want to do any harm to the relationship by getting lost just when your friend is saying something that is really important to her. You don't want to do any harm to the work project you're doing by losing focus just when it was possible that a really, a good stream of, yeah, this is how I'll do that, is about to arise, but it doesn't because you wandered off into something that got stimulated by the beginning of that planning. Those are harmful. They're harming your work project. They're harming your conversation. You don't want to harm. You don't want to cause harm. And deeply, the training of staying with your intention, of realizing the work project, realizing the building of the relationship through that conversation in the cafe, the training to do that is so valuable. And to get distracted, however minor, causes harm. It distracts from this valuable possibility that you really want to build. And then there's another form that arises in which, you need to keep an eye on harm so that you can be harmless. And that's, if the conversation turns in a direction that you can feel like harm is coming up, you want to move the conversation away from that. If something in the work project seems to be, harmful, you want to be able to note that and turn away from that. And for the moment, I'm going to designate the definition of harm in this case as simply, I want to do this for me and me alone. And non-harm, I want to do this for the benefit of all beings. That keeps it very simple. It keeps it very simple. If you look out in the world, you will see that much harm is done when people want to do it for the benefit of me alone. And you see that much good is done in the world when people act for the benefit of all beings. It's pretty clear. So you want to keep an eye on that. That supports the excitement of sustaining the intention to keep your focus of attention where you want to keep it. It's surprising how much energy to stay focused comes through when your focus is for the benefit of all beings. It really arouses delicious energy. And it's opposite, that energy gets deflated when the focus is on what's good for me and me alone. And you should always remember that the benefit of all beings includes you. It's not like you're sending everything out and sacrificing yourself. You are all beings, but just not by yourself, just not separate and alone. The third part um, of right intention that deeply, deeply supports our practice is, technically called renunciation, which is a word, I sometimes hesitate to use because it has all sorts of meanings that we each experience individually the meaning of that word, and we don't have an agreement amongst ourselves of what renunciation is about. And when renunciation is placed in a group with kindness and non-harm, then renunciation must be about something, very particular, because it has to do with kindness and non-harm. Well, that's interesting. So what we're renouncing, what we're letting go of, is holding on to and getting entangled in the various things that arise. Renunciation is what leads to release. If a thought comes up while you're in the middle of the conversation and you decide that the thought is too important for you to let go of, to release, then you choose. I don't want to listen to you anymore. Right now, I want to think by myself. Huh. That's not very kind to the other person. And most importantly, it's not very kind to the relationship itself. The relationship is the reason that you're in that cafe having, a cup of coffee together. You didn't come to the cafe to have, a little mind burst that you follow and disappear from the cafe and your friend. You came there to build a relationship. Releasing what arises that distracts you from exactly what you intend to be doing is such a gift. It's such an incredible gift. Clinging, grasping, holding on to, narrowing the focus of your attention so that all you're attending to is this thought or emotion or body sensation that you have chosen to get entangled with while leaving the person you're having coffee with. That's a painful thing. I mean, physically, emotionally, mentally painful. That's what dukkha is. That's a form of dukkha, a form of discontent, of dissatisfaction that is voluntary, that you can do without. When a thought arises and you contract around it, your body is actually contracting, which hurts. It's not good for you. You're causing harm. You're not being kind. And the thought that showed up is being restrained from following its own path. You have grasped it. You're holding it. You know, I've repeated many times the story I made up about the butterfly. You know, I'll say it again. You're sitting outside, you're relaxed, and it happens to be that the palm of your hand is lying on your knee or on the arm of the chair, open like this, and a butterfly comes down and lands. It's amazing. I don't want this to ever end, so I cup my fingers and I grasp the butterfly so it can't go anywhere. Is that kind? No. Look at my fingers. They don't feel very comfortable in this position. Not as comfortable as they were when they were open. And look at the butterfly, trapped, unable to pursue its life. This is what we do to our thoughts and our emotions and the sensations that arise in our body when we grasp them. Knowing them is fine. Being a companion in kindness is fine. So I'm going to renounce grasping, and I'm going to release the butterfly. I'm going to let the butterfly choose when to leave my palm. I'm not going to choose for it. The butterfly chose to land right here. Lovely. Does it tickle my palm in a discomforting way? As a matter of fact, it does. And there's a temptation to go, oh, go on your way. Because I'm not liking my palm being tickled in this funny way. But I'm going to release that temptation to be aversive to the sensation in my palm. I'm going to accept it out of generosity, for the benefit of the butterfly, that it may have the life that will have. It's really quite beautiful that way. It's really quite beautiful that way. Letting go of grasping is something that takes lots of training. Every line in this Anapanasati Sutta says, you train yourself. You train yourself. You train yourself. Why not train yourself so that you live in a world of kindness? Why not train yourself so you live in a world free from harm? Why not train yourself so that you are open and connected and with a tender heart building relationships with everything that appears, not grasping, not getting rid of, knowing each breath as we practice, knowing the in-breath when it's occurring, knowing the out-breath when it's occurring, knowing what is occurring in this very moment is the core of our practice. But mindfulness alone is not enough. Mindfulness has to be accompanied with kindness, with love. Because it's you that's doing the accompanying. It's your own life experience that you're being kind to. But you're not being kind to yourself alone. You're being kind to yourself as all beings. There is no separation. You're not left out. You're not on the fringe of all beings. You're right in the center. Being kind to whatever is occurring, whatever it is you know is occurring in this moment, can be kind to all beings and yourself in the same gesture, in the same movement. To cause no harm to all beings is causing no harm to yourself and to everything you're connected to. And to not grasp, to not let the flow of life get dammed up by your grasping, to not wander from this beautiful river of life and the way you're moving through the current with deliberateness and intention, to not somehow get your boat rammed up against the shore, stuck in some place because you got seduced. Don't grasp. Interact, relate, be creative, be part of, be together with, but let things come and go as they wish. And sustain your attention where you intended to be. So let's practice this. You train yourself. Breathing in, I know that I am breathing in. You train yourself. Breathing out, I know that I am breathing out. You train yourself. Breathing in, I know that I am breathing in. You train yourself. Breathing out, I know that I am breathing out. Breathing in, no, breathing in. Breathing out, no, breathing out. Breathing in,